Hello there and welcome back to Wheels of Interest. Today we are at Stotfold Mill Working Rally. First weekend in October. It is the final event for us of the year and I think for this area as well. And we've got 4 tractors here today, no less than 4. We've got the Ferguson, which you can see in the background. Just to the right of me we have the Hartpar as well on the end there, and buried in the line is the Oliver 70, and a bit further down is the Fordson, which you won't have seen on the channel just yet. And I like to, it's a very local rally to where I keep all my equipment, only about 6 miles away, and it's good to get everything out, and it's the only time it really gets any use, especially the Fordson. It only really comes out once a year. And I started it on Thursday and put some petrol in it. It hadn't moved for 12 months. I put it away in the shed exactly 12 months ago to the day, pretty much, to the end of last year's Stotfold rally. And put some petrol in it on Thursday, and it went first time. And I was well chuffed. Didn't have to do anything to it except grease it, make sure there was oil in it, and top the water up. So yeah, that's here, and that's good. So we're going to get the two-thorough cockshot on the back of that, do some ploughing with that. Do some ploughing with the Fergie. I've got the oil leak fixed. Pleased to do that because I wanted to do something with the Ferguson plough, try and get that working a little bit better. It's an opportunity to do that. I don't have any land to plough anywhere else. It's all grass where I am, so coming here and being able to do it on someone else's land is really good too. The only problem we do have is that about a fortnight ago, when we were at Casterton and we had all that rain, Bedfordshire really suffered, and there's a lot of flooding in Bedfordshire. A main road between Bedford and Milton Keynes has been closed for 13 days now, totally flooded out. Still closed today as far as I'm aware. And the field that we plough in here at Stotfold also has flooding issues up in the far corner, and I've walked the field this morning and it's a bit sticky, and in the wheel ruts there's water laying, so we'll see how we get on. It might not work, but we'll have a go at it anyway and see what happens. So we'll take a walk around the show a bit later on. I'm getting everything uncovered and ready to go. It's about 10 o'clock in the morning at the moment. People are starting to wake up. Just over there, the threshing set is being set up, ready to do some threshing. We've got wood sawing, we've got steam ploughing, and all of the usual bits and pieces that you get at one of these rallies. A bit of fairground, a bit of model stuff, and lots of trade stalls. So, come along, enjoy the day with us, and let's hope we have a good one. So the whole reason this rally exists because of Stotfold Mill, and this is in the village of Stotfold, and it was completely restored from a wreck. Got a very interesting history. Really beautiful old building, but it was the subject of an arson attack about 30 years ago. Without looking at the actual history, I can't remember, but I do know it was the subject of an arson attack. And of course, the mill was being made of wood. They pretty much destroyed all of the working machinery. Luckily, you can see up there we have new brickwork and such like done, and it's all got new weatherboarding and everything. I say new, in the last 20 years. The Preservation Trust really made a big effort to get this mill up and working, and it is now a working mill again. We'll just take a look inside. I can hear it whirring away, so hopefully they're grinding. And the water wheel itself is iron. It's an overshot wheel, which means that the water comes from the top of the mill pond, and it comes onto the top of the wheel and then pushes the wheel over, as opposed to an undershot wheel where the water flows under the wheel and pushes the wheel the opposite way. And of course this is all original. You can see that there's some corrosion on the pedals and such like. I'm not entirely sure what was replaced. I'm hoping some of it must have been replaced, but it's great to see. You can see how wide this wheel is. This wheel has got to be 15 feet wide. There's an inordinate amount of power in this wheel. to drive the mill, and it is just utterly awesome tower of water. If I go onto the history file, you can pause and have a read of it. It's a really awesome achievement having got this mill back up and running. If you look down there, the large tooth cog made of wood, and you've got the spindle which is coming from the watermill on the right hand side on the other side of the wall, and that cog is driving a bevel gear cog, which is in turn driving another larger gear above it, which is driving the mill machinery. A lot of this was destroyed in the fire. I'm currently not grinding any corn. You see the big cog at the top. You can see that is brought down and meshed into the main wheel to start driving the stones which are above it. And then the resulting flour would come down that wooden chute and into the sacks there to be taken away to the bakers to make bread. Over the far side there's another gear wheel very similar, so it's got twin stones, as in two pairs of stones. Both are working, or both are in working order. I believe it had another one as well by the look of it. In fact, I think it's actually got capability of four twin pairs of stones. Only two are in action these days, I believe. If you're into stationary engines, you've got a very lovely Crossley vertical engine, big diesel engine. It used to give additional power to the mill in the first half of the 20th century. You don't see one of these very often, that's for sure. And then we've got a smaller engine down here. I don't know what make this is, have a look at it. And that's a Tangy engine, and that's driving a generator for electricity in the mill. So yeah, this is a 4-stone mill. The 2 stones in front of us in the wooden boxes, and one to the left, which is just open so you can see what it does look like inside. You've got 2 stones, one on top of the other. One is static, fixed, the other one turns on top of it, and you feed the grain down the chutes into the middle of the stone. It works its way out through the groove, cutting the stone, and you get flour. And the mill is being driven, everything in the mill is being driven by the water wheel, which then drives all of the cranes and everything else to get the corn from the top of the mill all the way down into the sacks of flour at the bottom. Because of course you've got to get the grain falls down by gravity, but you've got to get it up there in the first place. And when we were outside you could see the pigeon loft area where the grain would come in from the farm. We hoisted up into the top of the mill, put into bins, and then it would be fed down through the mill when they were grinding corn, ready for making it into flour. All sorts of tools required for being a miller, keeping the mill in good working order. You have to dress the stones every so often, put the grooves in the stones, special hammers and chisels and such like. You have to have something to level the stones so that they run level and don't wear out unevenly. And of course all this was wooden, and still is wooden, but of course this is new wood because the whole place burnt down. You can imagine when a mill burns down, there's a lot of damage. We've got a cutaway of the two millstones here, so we've got the top millstone, which is the one that rotates, and then the one at the bottom is fixed, and you can see the grooves in the stone, and that's what does the milling. That's what turns your corn into flour. As with everything from the period, these places were dangerous. The dust was pretty bad. The millers used to suffer from miller's lung, from the dust of the corn. But of course, that was the days before you wore masks and safety equipment. All of this stuff is unguarded. You don't want to get anywhere near it because it won't stop if you get entangled in it. Some would call it the good old days. But if you knew your equipment, you were safe enough. I think being a miller was an absolutely lovely job. So this is out the back, this is the mill pond. The mill pond is the water reservoir that is held from the river, and it's the head of water that is required to go down into the mill to power the mill. And what better spot to spend your working life? Okay, you might have got the odd lung disease, you might have got the odd finger lost if you put it in a gear where it shouldn't have been, but absolutely on a lovely October day we have today, autumnal day, absolutely glorious weather. What a beautiful place to be, and what a fantastic testament to the Preservation Trust to put all this back together again and get it working. A real labour of love. So we've got two sets of ploughing engines this year, one in the real far distance, right down the end there, and then this one here, which is part of a pair, belonged to the same farm for many generations, and sold into preservation, or later preservation, some years ago now. I used to pass these on a regular basis when they were parked in the yard where they came from, very close by to here, and now they're owned by the Saunders Collection, and they're operating a balance plough, so named because the plough is effectively reversible, but by upending it at each end of the land. So every time it gets to the end, they pull on the back end, it puts the other set of furrows into play, and they drag it back across the field with the other engine. And what we've got here is just manoeuvring the engine in the right place so that when he pulls on the rope, it's going to pull the plough straight. There is a steersman on the plough which keeps it from wandering off, and there's 3 other people sitting on the plough to keep it in the ground, and you're actually provided with seats for that. So where you might have had maybe a horseman with 2 horses and 1 horseman. You might have had a team of lots of horsemen. But here we've got a crew of 4 or 6 men operating all this kit. But of course the advantage was it got a lot more work done in a day than compared to a horse. I think they're just signalling to each other so that they know which way they're going to go. But I think it's a 5-furrow or maybe 6-furrow plough, whereas a horse would only plough 1 furrow at a time. And you might have a pair of horses doing that. So yeah, it's an interesting process and slightly time consuming. He's actually just at the minute, he's just reeling in some of the cable, some of the slack. He's just about to take up the slack, and in a second he'll signal to say he's ready to go. That's the one end. Says we're ready. The plough is set down at the back end. The guys will jump on the back, and in a minute they will get this whistle to start pulling back across the field. They're all jumping on the back end. The engine to my left is running, ready to go, and in a minute he'll put it into drive, and that will drive the drum that's underneath the boiler. There we go, and he's got ready now. He will stop the engine, puts it into gear, and away she goes. Now he's slightly pulling uphill, and this is heavier soil than where we saw this at Wheating. I did some filming of Wheating at this, but it's very sandy soil up there. Here it's a bit more clay, so it's heavier ground, so the engine's got to work a little harder, plus it's going uphill. Here comes the plough, with lots of people riding on it. So there's 6 people. Just as it gets within about 20 feet of the engine, he slows it down so it doesn't go crashing into the engine. And there we have it, perfectly executed. And everyone jumps off and starts the process again. Each engine will move 6 foot or so forwards. Yeah, it's a 6-furrow plough this, so it's a heavy old plough. Each engine will move about 6 foot forwards, and we'll start the process again. That young lady there thinks she's going to pull it down on her own, but I don't think she is. All of the kit you see here made by Fowler of Leeds. Very well known, very famous manufacturer of steam engines and subsequently tractors and agricultural machinery. Been going many years, a couple of centuries probably now. There we go. Up. And the other engine just pulled on the rope a little bit just to help them pull the back end down. You can imagine there's quite a lot of coordination required, otherwise someone's going to get seriously hurt. So communication is utterly key. That was a whistle for the other engine on the other set, over the far side. They've got a much longer run down there. They're doing little short runs here. And in a minute, they'll get the whistle and off he'll go again. There we go. He's just about to put it into gear and take up the slack, and off she goes. A few nice little miniatures here, lovely little articulated Foden wagon. Rare and unusual model, that's for sure. And this guy here, he's a regular at all of the rallies locally, and he always likes to do rides, and away he goes. Little bowl 2-inch, and the proceeds of the rides go towards the mill. See over the far side we've got Lord Derby, the crane engine that was at Weeting and also at Shuttleworth, and between that and the burrel that is on the saw bench you've got the AEC timber tractor, which basically from the 1940s replaced crane engines such as Lord Derby. Got a 14E27N on the saw bench, and we've got a very interesting rack saw, reciprocating saw on a stationary engine. Really interesting looking piece of kit. Don't see one of those very often. Nicely restored, and it's got a steaming pot of water in there for cooling, so it's obviously been running. You can see it's been sawing a bit of wood up. Now that's only really going to be any good for sawing logs straight down, and for whatever reason, obviously it's not going to make any planks out of that. Whereas the saw bench behind with a circular saw, they're making planks with a trunk of wood. And iconic rally scene. We've got traction engines, we've got miniature engines, we've got steam lorry, we've got a showman's engine in the background, all next to the bar, of course. And we've got the Gavioli organ doing 10 to a dozen in the background. Iconic scene. Any steam rally you come to, you're going to see this and get to drink some proper beer. And probably lager if you want to really do that, but you don't want to do that at a rally. Unusual machine we got here. This is called a Gooseberry Blower, which I've never seen a Gooseberry Blower before. But of course, gooseberries, whenever do you see these days? But in South Lincolnshire, gooseberries were a staple farm crop, and this is believed to have come from that area. It's got a lovely little engine on there, Mitchell engine. I think that's part of the Stover company. Oh, it's a Stover engine, sorry, from Illinois, Freeport, Illinois, USA. Lovely open crank little engine driving the Gooseberry Blower, and this would basically grade gooseberries, blow out any leaves and stalks, and grade the gooseberries for size, I would imagine, as well. What we have here is an absolutely fantastic exhibit. It's a tangy diesel engine, and it's absolutely huge. You can see the size of this flywheel. It's probably about 6 foot, 5.5 foot in diameter. Massive cylinder on it, single cylinder, open crank, compressed air start. And basically what it represents is what you would have had in a stately, what we now call a stately home. It's driving line shafting at the top there for various duties such as wood sawing and all sorts of things that go on the estate. It's got a generator there as well for driving, for making electricity to charge up batteries, so that when the engine wasn't running they could have electricity at night. Because remember, back in the day when these big houses were built, they were built in the middle of nowhere, and we didn't have the electric grid like we do now, so they produced their own electricity with sets just such as this. There's a compressor unit there, which is I believe is driving the compressor for the milking machine. And up there we've got another tangy engine. I believe that's a tangy engine, can't see from this distance. But again, all part of estate use. Water pump in the middle for lifting water from a well or a river or a stream, again for use in the house. Absolutely brilliant. I'm not sure if this is working today. I've not seen it running this weekend yet, but it's actually got a really fantastic history with it. 1935 engine, so not that old really, of course. But yeah, this is what you would have had in a stately home to provide the power for the house and the estate to make and run the estate, basically. Down here this year, starting with a Bedford flatbed, a fairly modern T-Ridge, 1978. horse box, fitted out into living accommodation, of course, like they all are. A nice Bedford TK Luton box wagon. Big AEC timber tractor. This should be in the military group, which is on the other side of the field, but nonetheless, a Renault military vehicle, four-wheel drive, Ford D series with Perkins engine in it, unusual. That looks like a wrecker wagon of some description, or possibly could have been maybe fairground or something with the slopey back. Another TK Bedford flatbed, nice big Volvo F7, and then we've got an AEC model and another Bedford flatbed. Nice little roundup of commercials here, not too many, not too few. A couple of really nice threshing sets this year. We've got a Marshall traction engine on a Ransom threshing drum, I think, but it might be a Marshall. We'll go around and have a look in a minute. And there's a trusser at the end here, which is basically tidying up the straw as it comes off the back of the threshing machine. Puts it into trusses so that it can be stacked a little bit easier than just loose straw. So they're not really bales as such, they're sort of loose bales. And it's making a really nice job actually. Got the guy on top that's feeding the drum. Threshing crew, usually 3 or 4 people. And you've got one on the engine, you've got one feeding the guy from the trailer up onto the top of the drum, you've got the guy on the drum feeding it into the drum, and then you've got the bagger who's watching the grain come off. And then you've probably got a young lad, or what my dad would call an oppo, who'd be collecting all the chaff, and that's the worst job basically, is to get the chaff. And the chaff is very important because that's good feed for cattle and horses. And you'd have a young lad, that would be the apprentice if you like, and he'd be under the machine bagging off the chaff as it came off the machine. Horrible, nasty job. Gets in your eyes, gets in all your clothes. Really sharp, nasty, prickly stuff it is. So you don't give a 4 or 5, maybe 6 people on a threshing crew. Yeah, so it's a Marshall traction engine with a Marshall drum, which is about as it should be, of course. Just speeded the engine up a little bit. The whole thing is a living machine. The engine and the drum and the thresher are all shaking and shuddering as they're working away. Absolutely fantastic. Well, that's Stotfold Mill Working Rally 2024. End of Saturday. A lovely end to a lovely day. We'll take a quick scoot along the tractor line, starting with our Fergie. Next in line is our Fordson. Hopefully get some footage of this doing some ploughing. I've got a couple of shorts on this already, which is this thing just hunkers down. It's one of the best ploughing tractors you could ever get, really. Really lovely responsive engine. Don't have to rev it or anything, it just does the job. And where the Fergie was spinning in the furrow, this one just spins, but it picks up and really gets to grips with the ground and really gets it down. Great little tractor, that. And then next to that we've obviously got the Harp Power, which will be doing a bit of ploughing shortly, and my 70. And I like to show the 70 and the Harp Power together because this basically represents about 10 years of development. The Harp Power was 1930, one of the last ones built, and the Oliver 70 is 1941, so there's 11 years between them, but in development terms there's only about 5 or 6 years. because in 1935 the Oliver 70 was created with a smooth 6-cylinder engine and tin work to make it look nice and streamlined. So I like to show them together to see the development, and I'll do a video on this sometime about, you know, how did Hart Parr get from the Hart Parr as you see it to the Oliver 70 in such a short space of time. I'll have a look round to see what else we've got. The emphasis on this rally is really working rally. October time is pretty traditional for working rallies. We've got the usual suspects of Massey Ferguson's, nice little Massey Harris Mustang there. I suspect that'd be French, I would think, without looking. A couple of 135s there, 3 135s. Another Ferguson T20 diesel. That's got the right Ferguson diesel engine in it, not the Perkins like we have. Nice Fordson Major. There's lots of Fordsons here this year, as is there always. This is a nice 6-cylinder diesel Ford with a Ford engine in it. They sound very nice actually. Fordson E27N, that's why I started with one of these. It's my first tractor that I bought. Prior to that we had a Fergie, which I restored, or painted I should say. I didn't really restore it. Painted it up for my father. Really nice Farmall F12 I think this is. Let's have a quick look. Can't actually see it on this side. Let's have a go around the other side. This belongs to a friend of mine. Yeah, I think it's an F12. It's a little diddy one. Really lovely little tractor, beautifully restored internally, and this guy doesn't spare any paint. He really doesn't want to paint anything, and you don't really want to paint anything like this. I mean, the original decal on there is absolutely awesome, really. You can actually see that there has been another decal put over, because you can see International Harvester in different word lettering here. So in its lifetime it's had 2 decals. Absolutely awesome looking tractor. And again this side as well, you can see there's extra writing, so I don't know what the reason for that would be. Every day's a school day, and not everybody knows everything. What you've got in front of us here is a 1020 International. Now 1020s are an early International from the 1920s onwards, up to I think about 1935, but I'm not entirely sure. However, this one here is a very early 1020. It was built in 1924-25. The first ones were 1923, and on the side it's got the new International Junior. Now in 1919 the International Junior was the successor to tractors such as the Titan and the Mogul, and International redesigned it and came up with a 1020, which is much more like a conventional tractor. And the Junior that we saw at Casterton a fortnight ago is the forerunner to this one. This is a very early 1020, and I did not know that it was called the new International Junior when it first came out. So I've learned something today. I was having a long chat with the owner earlier on, and told me where it came from. Bought it from a farm in Suffolk, paid very little money for it. Basically rebuilt the whole thing, and it's a really nice restoration. And on the back of it we've got a Howard cultivator, which is virtually identical to my one, and it's inspired me to get on with mine. I don't think he's going to put it out and run it today. He did say he might, but it doesn't look like he is. There's a possibility that he will. But as far as the tractor goes, really interesting period tractor, very rare from this period in England. And yeah, if you're into international, sorry, then this is a really nice exhibit. Nuffields, Fergusons, one of a couple field marshals. Really lovely International M, big tractor, that big tractor. Then its successor, the B275, Fordson Major, Fordson Dexter, and another E27N. Finally, Nuffield Universal 4, and we're back to the Fergie. And this is a crazy tractor. This is a Fordson Major with a Perkins V8 in it. This comes here every year. It's a really nice conversion actually, it looks right. Whoever did this has really put some thought into the frame and how to mount everything. And yeah, all of the frame, the side frame just here, all properly fitted. We've got these arms in here to support everything with a ball joint at the back. Really lovely tractor. Look at the exhaust pipe on it, jeez. Big V8, diesel of course. I have got a back end of a Ferguson. I've seen Fergusons fitted up with T20s, fitted up with V12s and V8s, and I've got this idea of putting a V8 in the Perkins, but actually I might do a P6 conversion on that. We've got a back end that sits at, up in the yard, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to fit a P6 at some time in the future, but that's another project for another day. The D270, this was built in Britain. It was like the successor to the Alice B, built at Essendine I think, possibly Southampton, and this is a John Deere R diesel, 2-cylinder diesel. Got a donkey engine start, so every time you start it you have to start another engine to start the big engine, very much like Caterpillar. If you look at the top there, this is a donkey engine under here, petrol. I think it's 2-cylinder donkey engine, and then you engage the drive of the engine into, on the back of the little donkey engine, into the engine drive on the diesel. If you look at the size of the block on this diesel here, absolutely humongous, right under there. Here we've got the rocker cover for it, huge diesel engine. I don't know the horsepower of it, but it's pretty substantial. It's quite a thing. We'll take a walk down the engine line. You can see there the Hovis Sentinel wagon there. Little Wallace and Stevens tractor, lovely little Garrett. This is all part, I believe, of the Saunders collection and Stotfold, which is basically not exactly hosting this event, but certainly instrumental in the event being here. There's 2 events a year at Stotfold, one in May, which is more of a steam fair, and then of course the working rally that we're at today. And it all goes, the proceeds of which all go to Stotfold Mill. Here we have one of the fowl engines, which I featured on the Shuttleworth video I did the other week. Really lovely engine that. One of 2 that live near close by. Nice Foden wagon. Really lovely Scammell Highwayman fairground tractor. Generator set. And we've got some hardened organs enthusiasts waiting for the Gavioli to start. Now this is a really lovely organ, again owned by the Saunders collection. The only problem with the organs is they're blooming noisy, and when you've got 3 or 4 going all at the same time, it's like you have at Shuttleworth, it gets a little bit wearing if I'm honest. Next to that of course we've got some classic, there you go, as if on cue. I'll try and talk over it as much as I can. I just wanted to feature this Jaguar 3.5 litre, absolutely fantastic vintage Jaguar, really lovely. I believe it will be a 6-cylinder, might only be a 4. Yes, it's 6-cylinder, straight 6, 3.5 litre, beautiful condition. Nice rolls, one for Paul of Life on Cars. Really nice rolls, this guy's nice and polishing it. I don't know which rolls it is. Have a quick look. Doesn't actually tell us. Now that you're an aficionado of Rolls Royces, Paul, maybe you'll be able to tell us what model this is. Really beautiful looking car. Not for me, I have to say, but yeah, this guy's clearly looking after it. The ubiquitous Mini, named Oliver. We like things named Oliver. And under the tent we've got a couple of Model Ts. It's a very nice brass AA plaque. Unusual exhibit that we get at this rally every year, and that's the Cider Press. So over the far side, if I get round there in a moment, there's what we can be described as an apple huller, I suppose is the way to do it. You chuck your apples in the huller, squashes them all up, grinds them all down, and then everything goes into Hessian sacks, I think, or Hessian bags. Very much like that. And then they squeeze it down, and out comes the apple juice, and from that they make cider. And it's pretty potent stuff from what I can gather. Very unusual exhibit. Really good to see something like that. A really nice little Garrett 4-inch traction engine model. That's definitely being looked after very nicely. ED40 Alice Chalmers, again British built. A couple of Land Rovers, a 110 before it became a Defender, and then the Series 3 station wagon. So we've got the tractor pulling boys here as well this year. It's a new venture, I think, for this event. The whole idea is that you get a powerful tractor, you put it onto this skid unit, or the sled as it's called, and as you pull it down the course, that big red weight is meant to move up the sled to put more load on the back of the tractor, therefore making the tractor work harder. And the further you get, the more points you win. I have to say, it's not one for me. It's a bit like drag racing, really. I don't really get the idea of just sort of spending 6 months building a drag engine and then 20 seconds blasting it down a track, only to have to rebuild it again. It's not quite the same on this, but this really doesn't light my fire. There's a lot of noise, a lot of big tractors, a lot of smoke, and here there's a lot of mud as well. But nonetheless, anybody that likes tractor pulling out there, this one's for you. It's very big in America, of course, that's where it all started, and very big in the Netherlands and on the continent, Europe. Mostly Netherlands, I think. A lot of tractor pulling events over there, and there's some really awesome tractors as well, with goodness knows all sorts of engines in them, you know, multiple coupled engines, all sorts of things. Here we've got mostly Fords. In fact, I think they're all Fords. There's a big international there. They've either got 6-cylinder straights or V8s in them. A couple of them are purpose built, and yeah, hats off to the engineers building them. And if that's what lights your fire, please carry on. Now, even though I am definitely not a horseman or livestockman in any way, you cannot deny the beauty of these animals doing the job they were intended. But this looks like hard work to me. I'll take the easy life and sit on a tractor seat. It's hard enough trying to get that right, but getting ploughing with horses right, crikey, this is a skill and a half. But they are absolutely fabulous animals. Just lugging that plough about on your own is no mean feat, that's for sure. Yeah, a bit skittish, that's for sure. Off they go. Absolutely beautiful. Nice little 35X for the young lad ploughing. I'm no expert ploughman, but I've been doing it a lot of years, and I think the plough is set too far to the left. So we've got a 2-furrow plough on, and if you look at it, you can see clearly 2 furrows and a valley, 2 furrows and a valley. And what should actually happen is that you should have a nice even top without any valleys. So the furrows should meet and lay against one another nice evenly. And you need to set the plough over to the right a bit further. And as with all younger people, he's probably going a bit too fast. But the best thing about it is he's doing it and keeping it alive. Ploughing is becoming a bit of a pariah in the farming world. Farmers tend not to plough anything anywhere near as much as they used to, because it damages the soil structure reputedly, and basically doesn't do the soil a lot of good. And of course, if you don't need to plough, why would you put diesel in the tractor to plough when you can direct drill or, you know, minimum till, or I think that's what they call it. But yeah, there's a lot of ploughmen out there still doing it, and it's nice to see the young lads at it as well. I was one of them once, and I absolutely love it when it goes right, and I loathe it when it goes badly. Nice job of ploughing there with a nice International Naranthus plough. Very neat. This gentleman always does a good job. It's always good to see other forms of cultivation going on as well. So when the ploughing's done, somebody goes along with some springtime harrows in this case, or in the case of the big Ford a minute ago, a spick cultivator, just to break up the plough, which is what would have happened. Once it's ploughed, you've got to break it down into a seed bed, and that's the next step. It's nice to see these in action at these events as well. You don't get that at a ploughing match. Ploughing match is purely for ploughing and doing a nice job of ploughing and earning points and prizes. But a working rally, you get to see everything, which is really makes it really interesting. Off the Ford goes again, making a lot of noise. I think it's got a 6-cylinder in that, but it's got a straight through pipe, which means it's pretty noisy. And that's a wrap for 2024. Everything's away. It's the end of the day. Stotfold mill is over for another year and the tractors go back in the shed. Don't think they'll see the light of day until springtime from now. Got plenty of projects going on. Please, if you've enjoyed the video, put a subscription down on the channel. Keep up with what we're doing over the winter time. We've got plenty going on. I've got a couple of little tractor things to do on other tractors for other people. I've got my trailer to service, I've got my Land Rover TD5 to service, and most of all I've got a big winter project coming up which is the priority job that I've got to do, more of which to come. So thanks for watching, much appreciated for your support. Like if you enjoyed the video, share if you enjoyed the video to your friends who like this sort of stuff that we do. Every little helps. Be great to see you on board following our adventures. And until the next time, take care and bye for now. That makes me feel like I need a pee.